followed by, as I said, the panel discussion on unleashing the power of fintech by learned people across the global universities. And now I think we have all the more wonderful person with us who's going to take this online workshop on digital payments in the era of fintech. So we have with us Mr. Vaibhav Tambe. Very warm welcome to you, sir. Sir is the co-founder and CEO at Transbank Transaction Banking Platform, striving for excellence in BFSI domain with a combination of strong technical and operational knowledge and managing corporate, commercial, institutional relationship with multifaceted products, so sales and consulting experience of a rich experience of 14 long years. His primary focus is on transaction banking products like payments, cash management, escrows, remittances, and trade on or channel finances, which constitute the core transactional activity for corporate and institutions. Currently, the focus is on building open banking and neo banking partnerships and fintech alliances for the entire payment suites. And so with all this, I welcome you, sir, to our workshop. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the warm welcome. And I'm sure the students have got amazing insights about fintech, and I heard about metaverse. Quite exciting journeys altogether. So I think the way we have planned is maybe around 20-25 minutes talk about the digital payments and fintechs, and then maybe around 10 minutes of questions and answers, because I would want this to be interactive. I mean, the slot is actually post-lunch slot, so I don't want people to just get bored with monotonous dialogues, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, certainly, as you say, but I don't think we'll get bored because it's a very upcoming and a very useful session for all the people, including our students.
So, no, absolutely. Yeah. So I think so. Let me quickly take a couple of minutes on the background. So I was working as a banker. I started my career with State Bank of India, followed by IndusInd Bank. And of course, we have actually witnessed the very interesting transformation. We have witnessed banking, getting affected during demonetization. Everybody has seen from the consumer perspective, but we have seen that from a banker's perspective. Then, of course, lockdown, GST. So a lot of this, initiatives, a lot of this disruptions we have seen as bankers. And I think last year, me and a couple of my team members, we thought of creating the multi-bank model, which will help the industry, the fintech industry, as well as the banking industry to do the to ensure the customer experience is much more enhanced, and that's where I think we set up Transbank. So like in banking, people must have been studying corporate banking, wholesale banking. This is a term you must be aware as a BBA students and as a faculty. But banking, of course, consists of multiple departments. One of them is retail banking, as we see the branches, and then obviously corporate banking, where the corporate lending and corporate working capital things happen. Apart from that, essentially takes care of the all transactions, be it cross-border, be it domestic. And I think that's the most happening space, in these days. Students, of course, must have experienced, the transactions when they are transacting between themselves via it. They must be aware of UPI. They must be aware of bill payment or Bharat Bill Pay, right? So, so that's the background of me and my team. And once again, thanks to the entire team and then GSMC conference. So probably a couple of things I wanted to do rather than taking through a presentation, but a couple of things I wanted to do and tell you how exactly the world is shaping. So with a lot of new use cases coming, like a few years ago we never heard about online gaming, but now online gaming itself covers around 10-15 CR, of the Indian population. Similarly, the cryptocurrency. So there are various such e-commerce kind of platforms, or kind of solutions which are actually have created a new requirement of the latest and the new technologies like blockchain, because without that, managing such a large volume is not possible. Now imagine when a cricket match is going on, and everybody is trying to do the bidding, and during the bidding, how exactly this happened is the real time. Now to handle such a transactions real time, imagine we already have a road, it's a single road in Delhi, and suddenly you have 10,000 more vehicles coming on the same road. It's going to be a traffic jam, right? So the problem with the existing infrastructure is obviously, I can't say it's a problem, because existing infrastructure is built to take care of the, maybe say use cases which are like 4 or 5 times of the volume. But because the new use cases are coming which requires very high exponential growth, that's where I think a lot of fintechs are growing in India. They say somewhere around 6,000 fintechs are already registered in India, out of which around 600 of them are funded, right? So imagine, right from Paytm to Razorpay to Cashfree, there are a lot of fintechs you must be seeing around. And the need of that, as I was explaining, is the scalability, security, of course, and of course the legacy systems. Any of the organizations, they have their own legacy systems. Whenever you want to update legacy system, it's not really possible to update legacy system in a day, because these are like having tons of amount of data and processes. People are comfortable with the legacy system, so it's really important role the fintech sector has played in India. And of course the world is now looking at us. There are 100 odd countries where we're talking about setting up the UPI as the payment infrastructure. Bharat Bill Pay, which is a very good initiative by government. Again, one of the very well accepted worldwide, and now sitting in US, sitting in Europe, you'll be able to pay your bills. You'll be able to pay education institutes. So I think it's the world is now kind of adopting or kind of following our payment stack, India's payment stack. Of course, the credit, the bigger credit goes to NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India, and Government of India. But the fintechs have also played its own role. And I think one of the thing what we have seen in past few years as a banker is that there is no dearth of innovation, and there is a support from RBI. RBI set up the RBI Innovation Hub. There are entities set up by RBI like IFTAs, which are working on the payment infrastructure, and of course there are licensing given to these fintechs. There are payment aggregator license. There are prepaid card license. So I think there are various licenses. So imagine the kind of policy level support government has also been providing to the fintech fraternity, of course, through banking or through the license channel. So the most important part when we talk about all these things is, of course, the security aspect, right? Because imagine earlier the cash, physical cash, whenever you're traveling from one place to another place, you used to keep that cash safe into your pockets, and obviously some of the cash you used to keep at home, whatever, right? So I think the cash, still a lot of theft used to happen. But now I think in this digital world, the security is becoming a prime concern, because ultimately your data is completely over the cloud. Data is traveling through the various systems. So how do we ensure that as a layman, my money is safe, my transaction is safe? If I am paying to a particular entity, let's say I am making a payment to the DME, whether that payment is received by DME or not is also a concern. So there are two levels of concern. One is obviously your accounts getting hacked. Of course, that's a very rare event where your security systems or passwords are compromised or your mobile device is compromised. But there's also another security aspect where you have to ensure that the payment done by you is going to the right set of merchants, right? And I think that's where we have seen UPI have been very successful, because the moment you make a UPI scan, or the moment you make any kind of a UPI transaction, you exactly know to which person this money is going. There's a verified tick, kind of a Twitter verified tick, right? So the same way a bill payment or Bharat Bill Pay has ensured, whenever there is a merchant payment happening, merchant payment as in you're making a payment to the utility companies like Airtel, Vodafone, or gas payments, or maybe DTH charges. uh, you'll be able to verify the name, and you'll be able to verify whether it's going to the right account or not. There are various other solutions which corporates or institutions or SMEs use. In fact, as an individual, you and me, whenever we transfer any big amount to our friends via NEFT or RTGS or IMPS, we typically send 100 rupee or maybe 10 rupee or maybe 1 rupee kind of a transaction. So it's a very, very popular mechanism in corporate world called as account validation, using penny drop, penny testing, where 1 rupee is transferred into your account, and in return you obviously have a confirmation whether the money is received, and you also get to know the name of the person. So I think between these various solutions, fintechs are ensuring that the security from the internet protocol perspective, and security also from the value of money is not going to a wrong beneficiary. These things are being really ensured by the fintech fraternity, of course. uh, each and every business today, be it NBFC, be it colleges, be it standard factories, they try to use all these secure solutions. And of course, when we talk about fintech, we talk about wallets, right? I think in India, again, compared to other countries, we have seen excellent use cases of wallets, thanks to Paytm, of course. When that demand happened, next day the Paytm ad came, and those who were already adopting Paytm, they were very happy because they were not really concerned about making the regular payments, right? So I think wallets is another part where India have seen phenomenal success stories. MobiQuick, Paytm, and there's so many other wallets. It's Cash, long time ago, 2010, pre 2010 era. It's Cash wallets were very popular when you used to do the train ticket booking and all, right? So I think the point is we have already seen so many successful cases of wallets. And again, in wallets, the kind of payment infrastructure or security infrastructure government mandated, they ensured that proper licensing is given to these wallet infrastructure service providers. And of course, banks also started launching their own wallets. ICICI, HDFC, Axis, they had some of the popular wallet structure which help their users to make easy payouts. So I think between these wallets, UPI, and BBPS, Indian consumer is really in a better place. The life was not as disturbed when these catastrophic events happen. And in future, of course, government is now started working on the offline UPI payments. So today there's a dependency on the network. And when we talk about the Bharat story, where we are talking about the next 50 crore population of India accessing the payment infrastructure, that's where government is and NPCI has launched the offline UPI payments, and UPI using feature phone UPI 123. So you'll be able to just make a call and do the UPI transaction. See, the moment your rails are present and it's secured, you'll be able to you'll be able to add various form factors. So that one of the form factor could be the offline sample phone, or another thing could be voice. You'll be able to do the call. There are very, very interesting solutions by companies where you'll be able to do the missed call and make a payment. There are voice-based payment by tone tag. There are NFC-based card who are actually creating the payment infrastructure. So I think there are a lot of niche segments in India. Of course, we are an amazing country, but there are various niche segments in India, and all these fintechs are now focusing on solving this niche as well. There's a rural guy, he's not able to, of course, do the transaction. Then there is an assisted digital payment solution, and that's again extremely well laid out infrastructure by government. You must have heard about term called as business correspondents, right? So the business correspondents are simply your kirana or local shop or medical shop guys. They have the complete banking infrastructure. If I have to do a fund transfer, I just have to walk across to the store, like the India Post Office used to have the money order. You can be able to transfer the cash. You'll be able to give the cash to the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper will be able to transfer the money to your family in your rural place. Or you can also use the micro ATM. Micro ATM is we have seen a lot of times the ATMs in your vicinity are a little bit far away or not working, right? So these shopkeepers typically have a small device, which is called as micro ATM, and from that micro ATM you'll be able to withdraw cash, and that's again very beautiful. Of course, there are government companies like Service Center, CSC, who are wonderfully executing these financial inclusion products. Now, why in underpayment? Of course, it's a very very crucial term, financial inclusion. All of you would have studied at some point of time that financial inclusion is ensuring the last mile connectivity in terms of digital payments. And again, there are 100 to 150 startups or fintechs in this space of financial inclusion who are really ensuring that each and every pocket of the country has an secured access to the digital payments. Some of the popular names, if you have seen, if you've heard, seen the Hotstar, series, this Spice, which is one of the popular name, Payoneer by is another name, and CSC, which is the Government of India Entity Common Service Center. So there are several such entities who are ensuring that the financial inclusion and digital payments are combined and given at the doorstep of the student. So I think probably if I talk about all the payment modes, it would be the evening, right? And but I think the idea is not really to talk about each and every payment, just to give a broader perspective how the government and how the regulatory entities are structuring these products so that when we talk about our own innovations as a student or our own use cases, you'll be able to understand why this is happening, why there is a biometric pin which is not enabled for UPI. You have to put that number when you do the UPI transaction. So I think when you relate to your own use cases, you'll be able to identify that why all these various speed or security parameters are laid down by the organizations, and how crucial it is for us to follow and also spread this information amongst our own peer group, amongst our families. Why, how. I think good part about India is because of the Google Pay, Phone Pay, it has become really easy to reach out or to disseminate this information across ourselves. But still, I think probably as a youth, there's more responsibility towards us to first understand the integrities, the understand the see, because I think the fraudsters or the people who want to actually make misuse of this, they're going to be again smarter. Like unfortunately, for one smart good intention guy, there'll be somebody who's not really following the guidelines or using some of the gaps in the infrastructure, right? So that's where I think each one of us should see how exactly the infrastructure or the security related or password related things are followed, at least in our own our network of people, our own families. Of course, RBI, NPCI, RBI is regularly making these awareness campaigns, on the television, on radio. But then still, it's up to all of us to, of course, understand and follow these particular guidelines. I think with this, probably the another stack of the payments, which typically we all can discuss, is the cross-border remittances or global remittances, right? So India, of course, because of the population and because of talent what we have globally, all the countries Indians are present, and imagine the kind of fund movements happen. So while it's a ballpark figure, but around $100 billion is the number which is been received in India, and around 70-75 billion dollars. And this is, by the way, not the corporate trade transactions. These are individual retail transactions. So if you are receiving money from US, from Dubai, from your family, from Canada, that number itself is quite huge. Imagine the kind of infrastructure requirement the Indian ecosystem have to, and this inflow is going to go up eventually, because I think more and more people are also studying abroad, working abroad. Our workforce is also expanding aggressively. Indian companies, in fact, a lot of Indian companies are set up the shop outside India, and of course, a lot of employment is generated when Indians are moving to these locations. So there's a cross-border payments, which is again a very very popular and very very important aspect of this entire ecosystem. And in cross-border remittances, there are a lot of hops, multiple hops, wash-through accounts, not-through accounts, reconciliation, currency exchange charges. You must be following up or following the currency movements. Earlier, the dollar was 70, 75. Now it's around 80, 83. So there are currency movements happening. You have to take care of those currency movements and ensure the payment reaches the ultimate beneficiary. And again, over there are various security elements, because the moment you're talking about cross-border payments, the banking ecosystem or the fintech have to ensure the additional level of security. If you're making a payment, whether there is some kind of a wrong account or terrorist funding kind of a thing or hawala kind of a thing, so there are various parameters what the way the fintech and government authorities track this particular thing. There are documentations around the FEMA guidelines, which obviously we have to follow. And the idea over here is because the opportunity is ever growing. There are a lot of things what each and every fintech have to take care of, and that's where the standardization is also happening on how to implement these particular protocols, how to implement this kind of softwares is coming up. So I think quite a fascinating world. It touches every life. The good part about payments is that payment actually touches each and every life in the country, or or even if you are outside. The way I explain the cross-border remittance. So there are very few such areas where you'll be able to actually have uh, the particular product line or particular concept touching each and every life, and that's what I think makes these payments special. Because I think how it happens is, whenever you talk about lending or whenever you talk about the subject like financial inclusion, most of the times these subjects don't really touch each and every life. In payments, everybody on the ground, be it a farmer, be it a small merchant, be it the large customer, or be it the Adanis, everybody have to at some point of time touch the payments, whether to make the payment to somebody or whether to receive the payments. So in that aspect of it, we have to learn this. We have to follow the news. This today's session probably is only half an hour session, but what I would tell the beautiful 150 odd the audience over here is, just follow this particular space with some kind of interest, because eventually any business you do, any kind of other things you do, you'll be able to somewhere manage or somewhere touch this particular aspect of payments. With that, I think what I would do probably is, we'll take a couple of questions, maybe some of them from the students, some of them from the faculty, and then we will try to make it a bit interactive for next 15-20 minutes, and so that it's really, it will give some perspective how exactly the students are thinking, what exactly students are looking at from this particular interaction. So any questions? Anybody has any question?
Uh, yes, sir, certainly. I think very. It was very nostalgic for me because, for your information, I would like to say that even I've worked. I have a huge banking experience. I worked with IDBI Bank for around 10 years plus. So a lot
Wow.
of, a lot of reiteration of what all we do there. Thank you for that. But having said that, I'll just ask a question that, as per the latest EY report, 87% of the population of our country has adopted the technology in terms of online transactions and everything, as compared to the global figures, which they say is 64%. That is one thing. And secondly, when we talk about semi-urban or rural areas, I think you would agree that still there is an inhibition, security issues, and people are not so technology savvy. So how does that figure arrive? And that was my question.
See, I think the point is, I'm not very sure what is the sample size or what is the product which they have considered, but the way I have seen, and I've traveled across the geographies, the way I have seen is Indian infrastructure, because of the UPI, what we spoke about, it has actually reached the masses. So when they mention about technologies reaching 87%, that number, uh, I think it's a little optimistic number. It should be around 70-75% of the population, because a lot of people have no access to banking infrastructure, and the Jandan,
Yojanas.
expense reach around 100 crore, right? So there are 40 odd crores who are out of it. So, but maybe there may be some more parameters or some more sample size what they have considered. But I think quite a large population have got benefit out of this, these 4 or 5 India stack products like UPI and all. But when on your other questions, how do we have this more and more financial inclusion, is again what I was talking about, the assisted model through a business correspondent. So there may not be a bank in a particular village, but there may be a small kirana shop who's selling the simple household item like biscuits and some of the basic general stores things, and then typically SIM cards, right? Telecom revolution, it has really helped India, the when the 2007 2008, when the telecom revolution started, 3G, 2G and 3G, Vodafone, Airtel, Idea, everybody ensured that the distribution is strengthened. Now the same distribution, Vodafone M-Pesa, or the Idea Payment Bank, this started using this financial inclusion network. And then obviously, as I mentioned about the business correspondents, institutes like Pay Nearby or a Spice, or some of the government agencies like CST, they have ensured that the technology is reaching to the last mile. There may be a very, very poor farmer, or who wants to have access to the cash, or who wants to actually transfer the cash to some other account, or maybe do a simply bank account opening, saving a bank account opening for a particular bank. The assisted infrastructure have given that opportunity, and maybe that will justify the 87% of the number, which is published. And maybe they may not have a direct bank account, but they may have a this kind of a solution through the business correspondent or through the assisted mode.
Quite likely. Thank you so much for your answer. I would just request my other members if they have any queries.
If any student has any question to ask, they may raise their hands. We will unmute you. So if you have anything to ask from our speaker, either you can post in the chat box or you can raise your hand.
Sir, I would like to ask you a question. Like we are talking about digitization, we are talking about digital payments. So when we come to tackling the problem of security issues regarding this, so what measures are taken for these?
So as I was mentioning, there are various levels of security, protocols. So let's talk about UPI, because I think everybody over here, from students' perspective, they understand UPI, while the faculty will obviously have much more payments and banking knowledge. But when you talk about UPI, there are various security levels, right? First, obviously, is a bank, which is obviously following a lot of protocols on the security side of it. Second, the NPCI, National Payment Corporation, who's actually having the library where the entire data is stored, where there are various levels of encryptions which are being used. And third, obviously, is the app, the application where the UPI happens. PSP, it's called as the PSP app, like Google Pay or Phone Pay. Now, there are 800 to 900 test cases. It takes around approximately 4 to 5 months. You must have seen WhatsApp. They spent a large amount of time to start the UPI payments, because each and every step was pre-checked by the bank as well as the NPCI. So once you go through the 700 to 800 test cases, only then you'll be able to offer the UPI payments to your end consumer. And then followed by that, there are quarterly assessment. There are VAPTs, which is vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. There are infosec clearances, Only after that you'll be able to provide these services, and then there are periodic audits around the infrastructure layer. And of course, the control is very clear. If any lapses happen, the app obviously is not kept for the payment, right? So I think these are the very heavy 3-layer security parameters which have been taken care of, which have been followed. Of course, if you compromise your password, that's the only thing where the frauds are happening today. And of course, there are few innovative things happening on the fraud side itself. But I think the way this architecture is laid off, there are very limited chances of making frauds. I hope that answers your question, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Yes, students, you are very happy with using the payments of Paytm and UPI?
I think it's always difficult for students to ask the question, but I have seen a lot of interactions in the past where the moment somebody asks the question from student side, then obviously a lot of student participants. It's always first mover advantage or
Somebody
first
has
mover
to, yeah.
disadvantage the students have. पहले मैं नहीं पूछूंगा, पहले कोई और पूछ लेगा. Then let's. But I'll be happy to answer any of the questions around the payments or the fintech side of it.
I would just ask about the inhibition part of it, especially when it comes to a senior generation, like, our parents' generation, or of course, people living in rural areas specifically, because here we can see Pani Puri wala also using a Paytm thing, right? So here in urban areas and metro cities, we don't face such a thing. But yes, when it comes to our own parents also, there is an inhibition to, sharing their, what do we say, credentials to link it to for the Paytm wallet. So the first thing comes at, iski kya zarurat hai? Why do they need my bank details? Because then my pension will go away. So how do we overcome, like, what I know RBI has put in a lot of checks and balances, but yeah, you understand the mindset which they carry. So how can we help them address, because through this platform maybe it helps a couple of people here as well. Even not about the parents. If I see certain people around in my colleagues or friends, they also are very better to use cash even to this date. Then I as a banker take this initiative to educate them that it's not so. There are a lot of checks and balances, but still, yeah, I would like you to answer that.
No, I think fairly important question, because perception is actually what it matters, and it's really difficult to change the perception. And I think probably that can always be tackled by making the small amount of changes. So, for example, they can first start adopting to the internet banking of a particular bank. Maybe there are 2 accounts they have. One of them will be a larger balance account. Second account can be a 10,000 rupee or 15,000 rupee kind of a saving account. They may have 2 or 3 different bank accounts. You can actually ask them to try for one bank account, and after 1 year or so, or maybe 6 months or so, you can actually ask them to adopt. Of course, you can always convince them about the security aspects and all, but knowing a lot of customers we have interacted with, it's very difficult to change somebody's perception, and there are various counter arguments they may have. I think proof of the concept is always to help them to try something first with a smaller risk, like 5,000 rupee or 6,000 rupee, and then of course the way for the smaller amount, if they use and they'll see the convenience, they'll start adopting it gradually for various amounts. That's the approach we should try for our parents, for the other people in the vicinity.
Correct. I think that's a good solution you have given. Thank you for that. Anybody else?
Great. So I think,
Sorry. The students
Yeah.
can post the question if they want to in the chat box. Is it allowed?
Yes, ma'am. They can post their queries, their
Yes.
questions.
Even if they don't want to ask, or they don't want to come switch on their camera, they can just post their questions in the chat box.
Yeah, we have one question from a student. I want to know about new central bank digital currency pilot phase by RBI.
So I think when we talk about the flat currency, when we say flat currency today, whatever we see in the hands of customers or in the bank account, it's a flat currency. Globally, you must have seen how cryptocurrency have changed the world. And cryptocurrency, while the name carries some taboo and of course the risk, which is rightly identified by Indian government, but ultimately it's nothing but the virtual currency or digital currency. The important part of the blockchain infrastructure is you'll be able to track these particular transactions. So when there's a concept of color of money, where your money is flowing to, for example, if I pay you 100 rupees, exactly where that money is going, you'll not be able to track. But with digital currency or the virtual currency, that tracking is possible because each and every value, each and every transaction is digitized and it's kept in a distributed ledger. Blockchain is nothing but a distributed ledger where the ledger copies are available to various participants like bank and the government. Of course, with that intent, a lot of countries have adopted the central bank digital currency, which becomes a parallel currency which can be used for transaction banking or payments. Now the only thing is, because it's in digital in nature, it's prone to a lot of security hacks and all. That's where the CBDC had to be recalibrated and used for the specific use cases. So the pilot happened a few days ago, where the government treasury bonds of 275 crores, the transactions happen through the CBDC instead of a fiat currency. So it's a very, very interesting and crucial phenomena for everyone of us to follow. Eventually, probably after 5 to 10 years down the line, everybody will only have the CBDC or the digital currency through which transaction will happen.
So there's a question posted by Tanya. What are some of the possible products for a fintech company? And can you explain InsurTech?
So possible products for fintech company, we already discussed honestly UPI, BBPS, various form factors around that financial inclusion. I mentioned about the micro ATMs, debit cards, credit card, opening saving accounts, and there are, as I said, there are 6,000 fintechs today in India working, 600 of them getting funded. On the InsurTech, again, very, very important subject for India to cover. Still, apart from LIC, other insurance penetration is very difficult, and insurance sales itself is looked at in a different way. We don't really value the insurance as much we should value. Because the police wala pakadta hai, that's why we ensure that third-party insurance for car is taken, but we don't take the term insurance for which serves exactly the same way, the way third-party insurance or car insurance for your own car. Like, so I think insurance, there are various distribution companies around InsurTech. There are like Policy Bazaar or Grow. There are various companies who distribute insurance product. There are various companies who do the sachet or the smaller ticket.
So I think you're on mute.
Yes, sir. He is on right now.
Excuse me, sir. We're not able to hear you. You're on mute.
Sir, you are not audible. I think there is some connectivity issue.
Maybe.
He is unmuted, but we are not able to hear him.
Yeah, I think it got muted. So anyways, I have to rush for the next meeting. So I think InsurTech, just to summarize, InsurTech, apart from the distribution piece and the payment piece, there are various activities around actuarial sciences, which is waiting to be disrupted. So that's one area a lot of fintech or startup can look at. I think with this, we'd like to conclude and like to thank everyone for your time and for your, very nice set of questions. It was really great to interact with everybody and look forward to seeing you in the campus maybe some point of time.
Yeah, that would be a pleasure. So just a token of appreciation from our side, sir, for you. And
Yes.
I extend my gratitude to you. And it was a privilege sharing, informative and such a latest knowledge which you shared with us. I really thank you. And request the Zoom management to please share the feedback and attendance link. Also extend my heartfelt, gratitude to our media partners, Financial Express and Amar Ujala, and our knowledge partners, Karyathon. Also thank all my faculty members of BMS, and last but not the least, the audience, our students. Right. I hope it was an informative session for all of you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you, sir.
All the students, please copy the link and give your feedback, and it would be considered as your attendance as well.